It's 6:30. We'll call the Sawyer County Public Works Committee meeting to order. Let the record indicate we have a quorum. Certification of compliance. The meeting law is done. The agenda is in front of us. There's no changes to the agenda. Number 4 is public comment. And we have no one for public comment. Number 5 is the minutes of the previous meeting of August 12th.
Make a motion.
A second.
Motion by Mr. Howie, second by Ms. Taylor to approve as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Number 6, Sawyer County Airport report. Derek was nice enough to put together a report for us. If you reviewed that, anybody have any questions for that report? Derek, anything you want to comment about on that report?
Just want to move on. If there's no questions on the report, I know we got Carl Kemper on for letter C. I don't have anything else to talk about for A at least.
Okay. And letter B, now, did last time you tell us the terminal building will be on hold for now?
That's where we're at. My partner and I, Todd, talked with Tom Hoff, kind of giving an overall synopsis as to, we're still less than a year into our contract. Everything we've done through the pandemic, we've managed well at the FBO. We've had all sorts of contractors out trying to figure out how to tackle the building, what's best to do, what's required under compliance laws with things like ADA accessibility and emergency lighting systems, and building's been posing some challenges for us as far as remodeling it the way we want to and within the means we have to do so. So right now we're just kind of working on trying to figure out what we can do financially to the building and be able to make it what we want for the business. It's the bathrooms are the big one. Redoing the bathrooms in the old building is, our original plans, I presented the layout plan from the design firm at this meeting, and a couple different contractors' bids that came in exceeded the value of what it would cost to just build the building brand new. It's just astronomically expensive, so we kind of had to reel back from that, and that's where we've been for the last couple months, trying to just get ideas as to, what's obtainable really for us. So nothing for tonight, maybe for next month, if we can get our act together and come up with a plan, we'd look for approval at that point in time.
Okay, so we'll leave it on the agenda.
Yep.
That's fine.
Mr. Chairman, I got a question.
Yes.
So you saved all these entitlements for all these years to equal $579,000?
Entitlements, the county gets $150,000 every year, and that'll be from here on henceforth for many, many years. To use the $150,000, you have to do an AIP eligible project, airport improvement project, and it has to be eligible. Things like runways, taxiways. Usually when you have a big project coming in, like our fence project, we did our fence project, it was $1 million project in 2015, 2016, we did that project. Usually when you have a project that exceeds what you have in available entitlements, they take all your entitlements and they give you apportionment funding. So in this instance, we've got 4 years worth of entitlements available to us. And the total with our Sawyer County's 5% match of the 150 and the state's 5% match comes to over $600,000. But the taxi lane and ramp restoration project this spring is going to be $1 million. So they're going to take all of our entitlements except for 2021. 2021s are still froze. They haven't awarded those yet because of COVID, at least to my knowledge. So 17, 18, 19s, and 20s, all of those will be wiped out with our project in the spring, and then we'll start over again. So there's $600,000 available for the ramp project. It's $1 million project. the county's gonna get apportionment funding from the state, which also comes with a 5% match. So it's $1 million project. We went through 2 months ago and got the approval for the project. It was up to $50,000 or $60,000 for the 5% match local share for the project. And
You just answered my question, that we'll have 50,000 that we'll have to pay.
Mr. Schuman, they've talked about that in the past, and that's the idea that you can carry a lot of that over to help with the next project.
Yeah. Gotcha. That's nice to say that. Okay, thank you.
Letter C, airport boundary survey, property easement and discussion. We have a gentleman that will help us with that tonight. His name is Carl Kemper. There.
Just a brief update, and Tom could kind of talk about this too. The airport, the airport boundary survey, we've been working on it for a couple of years now. Part of having the airport and accepting these federal fundings, federal monies that we're just talking about, there's all sorts of requirements that the county has to do to be able to continue getting that money, and for the next 20 years after every time you accept money. One of them is having all the airport in good title and good standing and zoned properly. Part of this boundary survey is that we realized that there was 37 different parcels to the airport and they all needed to be rezoned. And we did that last year. Now Becker Hoppy, they were awarded the project several years ago to do the boundary survey. We're at the very end of it now, and there's been some things that they found that need to be corrected. You know, so the airport's in the position that it's supposed to be as far as our grants and assurances with the FAA are concerned. So you also want to have things like easements be accurate at any point in time. So the two different things, we moved the Civil Air Patrol hangar in 2014, but we never updated the hangar lease or the airport layout plan as to where that hangar is located. So they've done the surveying for where the existing hangar is now to update the language. And also we relocated the Town of Hayward Road. So that needs to get changed. And that's where Carl will step in. And Carl, can you hear me?
Hi, Derek. Yep, I can hear you. So thanks, Derek. Thanks, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I think Derek did a great job of summarizing everything. I can add a few points to that. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, like Derek said, we're working on wrapping up the airport boundary survey. A requirement that the FAA has is to have an Exhibit A map for your airport showing lands that the airport holds and property interests, things like that. So the boundary survey, like Derek said, there's a few components to it that were known going into the boundary survey, and then a few components that kind of popped up while we were doing the boundary survey, items that we identified that needed to be rectified. So going into the boundary survey, items that were known about were the airport road relocation, like Derek said, that happened back in 2014-15. So we're going to be working with Sawyer County surveyor Dan Ploger to get he'll review the new plat of surveys and make sure that everything looks good there for the road relocation and that new road easement location. Similarly, Namacoggin Lane that comes off of Airport Road. Also some property, I guess I'd call them easement exchanges between Sawyer County and Town of Hayward is needed for Namacoggin Lane there. And really it's all kind of an eye for an eye as a way to look at it. It's really equal exchanges of property between Sawyer County and Town of Hayward for these easements, for these road easements. New property corner irons have been put in where there were missing property corner irons. Utility easements are being prepared for utilities in the new airport road right of way. I guess I don't want to bore you too much with this stuff, and really just wanted to let you know that we're going to be working with Sawyer County surveyor Dan Ploger and the BOA on making sure that everything looks good for these survey documents. And then after that, we would look for approvals from Sawyer County and the BOA and the town of Hayward for these easement exchanges.
So presumably next month, we may have something in the agenda committee to review and try to make potentially a motion on to approve the new easements and language, probably in association with the town of Hayward, and then reviewing it and approving it as well.
Yeah, and we'll see if it'll be ready for next month. We have sent everything to the BOA for approval, and their land manager has been pretty swamped, I know, with a lot of land projects throughout the state. So I'm not sure how quickly she's going to be able to review the documents. But yeah, like Derek said, at some point in the future, we'd be looking for some action to approve the easement documents.
Good, thank you. We'll be looking forward to that coming forward when it's ready. Anything else regarding that? Letter D, 2021 budget. Thank you, Mr. Ted.
The 21 budget, we did prepare a budget in conjunction with Derek. Looks pretty much the same. We've got some good revenues coming in, and we left the revenue projections the same, I think, for next year in 21, just because we won't have a full year in this year yet, but it does look like they will meet the budget projections that we thought that they would do for 2020. So that's a good thing. Rest of it's pretty standard, I think, and pretty much the same. We didn't change too much, did we, Derek?
We really didn't. One thing of note that came up, obviously, before we started the meeting tonight, snow removal. We've got what I think is a relatively modest number for snow removal. Tim does that for the most part, but last year you see the number was significantly higher. Still significantly lower than what it used to be in the past when we just contracted out with Jim Miller. My gosh, half or less. So Tim does a really good job with that, and we'll see what the winter brings. Last year was relatively light, and you can see where we came in, but we also had some repairs on some machines. We had some maintenance that we did on some things, and I don't have numbers on that, but I know it took a toll on our overall revenue budget on the year too. So that'd just be the only thing I'd really be concerned with in the budget that we're really going to go over. Another one that's kind of been a wild card in recent years is brushing. I twisted Tom's arm and Tom twisted Tom's arm and let me keep the money that's in there for brushing and getting brushing bids in, and they're accurate or not outrageous, I should say. Has been kind of difficult. We got off lucky last year, but moving forward this year, next year, hopefully we'll spend the money. This year we'll probably come in under again. We're looking at, I've been considering renting a tractor for doing some brushing this fall out at the airport. Just to use some of the money that's in the 2019 budget, since it's not going to get used.
You'll do that yourself, or?
Well, I was talking with Tim about that. LPG John that does the mowing for us is interested in working on a tractor doing some brush hog stuff as well. And the question would have to be asked and answered if we could pay him out of the brushing budget for both machine and for man to do some stuff this fall at the airport. And I don't know if that's really a committee decision or what your guys' thoughts are on it. It's more of a Mr. thing, I suppose. But no, John, and talking with John, he's been interested in doing it, and talked with Tim about possibly renting a machine. That always comes with risks to renting the machine. Wear and tear and damages in the machine, I guess, can be difficult to handle sometimes as well. But we have a significant amount that's not going to get used in the budget. So I'd at least like to take a crack at it and do some stuff.
All right.
No, go ahead, Mike.
Well, I'm just curious how that would normally work. It sounds like he's keeping some money or something for his in his pot there, but, would, say if a department did have, money, they didn't use it, would that go back to the regular slush fund or whatever to put towards the next year's budget?
Yeah, it's not normal that a department would be able to keep money left over. I mean, that's not what we normally do. We try to get Derek to maybe look at doing that bid a little bit differently, not do it the way that they did before, but do it in a fashion that when the brushing gets done. I mean, the purpose of that money in that account is to get that done, because if you don't do it every year, things get away from you. So the intention is to get that used because it needs to happen.
Well, I could just chime in. One thing that I could say, I'm sorry, you want to keep going?
No, go ahead.
We got a lot of brushing done with that money in 2019. We did really good on it, probably better than we ever have before. The reason why there's money that's not getting used is because Nate Beaver, the guy who put the bid in, they're getting paid $50 an acre. It was absurd.
Absurdly low?
Yeah. Beyond words, absurdly low. So we're actually in pretty good shape in that regards. Some of the other bids came in at 30,000 and 25,000, and Nate did all the same amount of work in $1,800. So putting the bid together again, that's why it'd be really nice this fall to tackle the areas that we can, the areas upland, not in the wetlands. Get everything done, taken care of this year. When we have some money extra in the budget, then when we start putting our bid together, we can really draw the maps and say, this is what we've accomplished. You can go up to this amount and then cap it and then look towards next year to continue. So we're in a unique situation this year where we actually have the opportunity to do some more than we would have otherwise.
Our calendar years or whatever, our budget, it goes regular calendar year, right? January. Yeah. I think of military, October. I don't like the idea of a department or whatever carrying.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's actually the way it works, like Derek described it.
No, and I misspoke on that. It doesn't carry over, it resets back to zero. That money goes away. I don't want to lose that money, which is why we want to try to use it this year.
It's small.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're not able to get it done, then it goes back to the coffers, right?
Yeah, it's a general fund, so it goes back into the general fund, yeah.
That answers a question I had for something else too, so thank you.
Mr. Schuman.
So this is Sawyer County funding and not entitlement money, correct?
This is our,
And you budget 10,000 every year and you only spend 2,000, and then, what did I see, last year you spent like 19, or you're on track to spend how much this year?
I'd be surprised if we went over $5,000. We went to the machine for a week. Plus, Nate Beaver came out and did some more work this year. The year before that, it's really hard because the fiscal year falls right in when we need to be out brushing. Really hard because, if things are frozen, the only time you can go out and brush is when it's frozen and there's not lots of snow. So it's usually that time period between December and January where you even remotely get out there to get the brushing done because it's a swamp.
Oh, that's or
Gotcha.
when you said our year is up, that's you got through the summer, correct?
Correct.
So you'd be doing it at latest maybe late October.
And Beaver we still got Nate Beaver on me this fall. There's some areas he didn't accomplish that he never was able to get into last year. So if it's freezing hard in December, there's a possibility where we could still utilize his services to go out and use all of the money that we have left.
Thank you.
Possible.
You got to remember, so we budgeted so much money last year. The bid came in for a lot less. That makes us all
Right.
very good.
And the fuel flowage fees have gone way up. That's very nice, huh? I see you beginning
Yeah, we should, fuel sales year to date at the FBO, we're slightly ahead of where we were at in 2019, which is ridiculous. I keep using those words. Gotta stop it. Like SC Johnson in particular, they stopped flying, period. SC Johnson's been the biggest fuel purchaser at the airport for 30 years. And they stopped flying in and out this summer, and our sales are still up. Yeah, people flying in and out never have before because of COVID.
Yeah.
I don't have to tell you guys that. Go out to the grocery store. There's more people in town than there ever has been. So, like I said, through the FBO activities, everything that's going on, we're doing strong. Things are going well, but there's certainly some concerns when your number one customer falls off the face of the earth. And they did, so budget, revenues, we should exceed. I think we're on track to exceed all the budget numbers. So for 2021, we should have a pretty good idea, looking at a full calendar year, what FBO sales were.
So you collect this money for hangar leases and septic easements near the end of the year then? I mean, because you're at what, 5,800 and you're gonna get 17,000?
Yeah, that's Carol's office, clerk's office has always handled that. I don't see any of those documents, the hangar leases.
Okay.
They do come in later in the year,
Okay.
so we should, and those are all by contract, so that's
Yeah.
pretty solid.
Yep.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Terry. Moving forward. Number 7 is Highway Commission report. The Highway Commissioner is not here with us. He's on vacation. Had a very good case. But he did provide a report for us. Look at it, if you have questions.
I do have a question, and maybe Tom can answer this. He's put this in a few times in his report there about the mowing, and it's come to a halt due to staff shortages. So he's short on staff?
He does have a couple of openings right now. One is in the middle, I think, of being rehired. The other is a recent retirement. So with the work that they're doing in construction and whatnot, I think they are behind and running.
Yeah, I understand. I was just curious what he meant there. That answers my question.
Yeah, going into snow plowing season, obviously, there's always a concern on the staffing level. So, as we talked about staffing all the way through the year and the budget, we're leaving one of those permanent positions open and filling it with LTEs. So we're not paying for that last employee all year long.
Right.
That seemed to work last year. It's going to do it this year.
Yeah, you seem to be very happy with his LTE. Thank you.
Yeah, I've been visiting with the sheriff lately, and we're on a record pace for highway deaths in this town. I mean, I think we're already at 10, and normally we have 2, and we still have months to go. So I wonder, I know that he and Gary worked together on this, and I don't know what more we can do and why this is setting a record pace this year. But I'm sure it's not due to mowing the side of the roads or anything like that. But you have to look at things like this and what is.
Yeah, why is there such an uptick like that?
Yeah.
Well, I think part of it, just like Derek said, he's got a lot of new traffic coming into the airport. There's also a lot of new traffic on the road that aren't familiar with curves and hills and trees, and everything else, and those pesky deer.
Yeah,
A lot.
true.
Yeah, right.
I know if you have Minnesota license, you don't have to stop.
Exactly.
And
I see somebody rolling, just keep, yep, Minnesota.
And I'm sure you can attest to this too, being one of our new police officers, but that Highway E bridge project. Boy, if anybody's been through there, that's a mess. Mark.
Yeah,
That is a
it's been a
one-way
while,
in.
but yeah, it's,
that's probably going to be the way to stick with it.
I know it is. I see
That
that
is
here.
not good.
That's scary, but I don't think we've had accidents there, Sue.
no.
No, but I almost got into one the other day.
You did?
I don't know how many cars don't stop and they just fly through. I stopped parked around the corner and just kept going, and we even stopped, and I was just getting ready to go into that thing. But I stopped in time for it not to hit me.
And I think law enforcement's aware of that, and of course our police department. That's part of our area that we
Yeah,
cover, right, Susie?
there's been times where we've sat down there.
It's been a while since I've been there. Is it just a stop sign?
There's 4 stop signs, 2 on each side of like the roadway, on each side. So that one side you have the stop sign here, stop sign here, and then you go around the homes and everything. And then on the other side, if you come in the other way, there's a stop sign here, and a stop sign here, and homes. So that you can-
Yeah, we all know how well people stop. So, I mean, you.
There's good
experienced it.
warning, you know, that it's a one-lane bridge, stop sign ahead, but it's so
I
remote.
don't know.
It's kind of in a remote area, Mark, where there's,
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't see headlights, I can't imagine that at night.
Right, that's what I'm thinking is, I mean, everybody's like, 63, they've had those lights then, so that they don't have to have a flag person there. That's something to think about. Get that, so, put that thought in Gary's head. I don't know if it's possible or not, but at least something to think about.
The other part of it is snow plowing. You can't take it up.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, rough.
Oh,
And it's scary too, because a lot of people fish there.
oh, yeah,
So they fish off that bridge. So
they pull off to the side right, real close to the bridge. That's
The
a,
area will do the best they can do.
what he is.
I just see that on the report, and I'm glad he's continuing to update us on that.
2020 fund balance is available for your reviewing if you wish. I ask Gary if there needs to know that you should be aware of this. And know it's straightforward. The same with the overtime report. They did get some blacktop done. So they have some overtime to do your blacktop.
Mm,
And then letter D would be the highway 2021 budget request. Is there anything you want to talk about on that?
Yeah, Gary puts his information in a spreadsheet format, so we don't have the system reports on the highway department, but all those line items and whatnot are in there. Couple of points to mention here. If you look at page 13 of 23, Mike just got a couple of notes at the bottom. Out of the total amount requested, we backed out a couple of things. One is that 128,000 for the E-Bridge, which he has in there as an expense because we don't have any other funding source currently. I mean, there's a grant possibility that we won't know about until when, after the end of the year, I guess. So to fund that in the budget, we do need to use proceeds. I think that's bond proceeds. And then we reimburse ourselves if we did get the grants at that point. And also the $200,000 listed there is fund balance. If you recall, the last couple of years, we kind of used $200,000 of fund balance from the highway fund balance. And then we, I think he used operating or lowered his operating expense last year. And Gary reinstated that 200,000, but we do need to take that 200,000 back out and use fund balance for that. So we're not lowering his expenses, but we are using some of his fund balance. So that 328,000 is what we need to help balance the budget. And when we get into finance tomorrow, Mike will cover that more extensively on how that works with the rest of the budget. But as far as the highway budget goes, the staffing levels are the same. The big thing with the highway department, they're very heavy on construction. All other departments are heavy on personnel costs and salary costs. A lot of the highway budget is construction and maintenance type costs. So, the money that he has in here for the projects that he's doing, does it keep pace with what we need to do? If you've got a 20-year road, you should do 1/20th every year. Are we doing that? Not really. Can we afford to do that? Not really. This is going to bite us someday. But this is the level that we've been funding at, just because that's all that's fit into the budget. As you recall, this year we're doing something a little bit different where we're issuing debt to cover some of those construction costs. And so the dollar amount of that, we are still working on as we work through the operating budget, just to see how much room we need on the operating budget, and then we'll fund some of those highway projects with that debt, so that capital construction will be funded by that debt to free up some of the operating costs that were over in other areas. And so again, we'll talk about that more in finance and then at the full county board next week. So you get a more fuller picture of how this fits into the rest of the budget. So that's where we're at with highway.
Thanks.
Hearing none, we move forward. Transportation. Number 8. Tim was nice enough to put together a maintenance report for September. Do they have any questions on it?
No.
Want to comment on it?
Nothing I can think of.
Okay. Second courtroom discussion and possible action.
We'll cover more of that in the closed session.
May 2021 budget.
All righty.
You want to discuss that, Tim?
Yeah, it's, I think our 2021 budget is looking pretty good. We went into it with trying to kind of talk about how can we realistically hold zero. And you'll notice in there as you kind of go through there, we are starting to really, we're seeing some cost savings with the LED conversion in the courthouse. So, there's some savings on electric and some things like that. And then it's been working out really well. We still have technically a full-time position that for probably a couple of years now we've filled with 2 part-time, and both part-time people are really phenomenal employees. So so budget-wise, I think we're sitting pretty good.
Anything stands out that we need to know?
No, I think when we get into the capital improvement, kind of what we've done over the years with our 5247 line and our 5242, the repair and maintenance and the repairs buildings line. Something probably everybody doesn't see, but we've upgraded probably more energy efficient, almost. We probably still have probably 3 or 4 condensing units in the courthouse that are still R22, not that efficient systems. But over the years, we just kind of upgrade equipment as we can on this regular operating budget. Health Human Services 95 edition, we have 39 heat pumps up in the ceilings. Through a pretty aggressive maintenance program, we do have, they're running good. We did replace 1 unit this year, but hopefully starting in 2021 on the CIP, we're going to start trying to replace 4 or 5 of those a year, just so that we can kind of keep upgrading equipment. But other than that, I think who else is in line?
You do painting out of them on your own?
Yeah, we do all the refrigeration and HVAC and installation and repairs. So basically we're looking at the wholesale price of equipment. So that might be
Got a good question for Tom, actually. It kind of fits in here because it's along the lines, excuse me, of the windows. The register of deeds and the treasurer, are they still having their doors closed until they get the plexiglass?
Yeah, they don't have theirs yet, right?
They don't have theirs yet, and actually, it's not plexiglass, we decided to go permanent, more of a permanent, because plexiglass will scratch really easy. So all the transaction windows we put in, the conference rooms have plexiglass on the tables, but down the center of the tables, but the actual transaction windows are glass. What delayed the register of deeds and treasurer's area was at first they were going to go higher, and there's a shortage right now of components for the metal frames. And so we worked with Glassworks, and now couple of their suppliers kind of came in with some different ideas. So they'll have glass that's going to go 30 or 32 inches off from the countertop height, and they've got tall countertops, and then it'll be a 4-inch opening all along the bottom for transactions. So I'm hoping within the next few weeks to hopefully have those in. That's the last area we're working on.
So my question is yes. They're still closing.
Store is still closed, yes.
Yes.
Jim, have you spent a lot more on cleaning supplies and things like that?
Yeah, we've
That
got.
Maybe we could use COVID money for, Tom, or CARES money?
Yeah, we've been earmarking a lot of stuff for COVID because we're doing a lot more disinfecting, a lot more hand sanitizers. We did purchase a couple, one for the jail, one for here, a Kyvac machine. So all the public bathrooms and stuff are getting cleaned with Kyvacs every day. So, yeah, so we've been earmarking that for COVID.
Done a nice job though, Tim. I haven't heard any COVID at all linked to this workplace or the jail.
Yeah,
I
so it's
want to say
been,
that.
yeah, staff and everybody's staying pretty consistent on it. So,
It's a pretty big deal in the jail.
yeah.
Yeah, to be safe like that.
How about the fleet vehicles?
As far as non-sheriff department fleet, or, yeah, as far as courthouse fleet, our maintenance costs have still been running really good, because, and Mike and I and Tom have been talking a couple different ideas, I know, because, we did purchase courthouse fleet vehicles in 2019. We didn't purchase any in 2020, and so we're coming up into 2021, but fleet's been running good. I know right now with a lot of people working remote, some of the vehicles aren't, they're kind of sitting out back, some of them. So, well, we're kind of, Mike and I have been talking a little bit, trying to go, if you look at how fast vehicles appreciate, even if we buy them on a government bid. So we're trying to kind of track mileage and stuff and try to kind of go, would we be better off on some of ours to, instead of buying new, kind of go per vehicle and go maybe, we can pick up a vehicle that's maybe 2-3 years old that depreciation's already, someone's already taken that high hit. And so we're kind of looking at that. We are watching maintenance costs to make sure that we don't have any vehicles that are kind of going past when we should trade them or get out from underneath them. So.
And the ambulance, we have 2 that are 4-wheel drive yet?
Yep, we still have the 2 that are 4-wheel drive diesels, and then the other new ones are all gas. And then I think we're waiting. I haven't talked to Nate in the last week or so. I think we've got two older ambulances yet, and so he's waiting to see it. He said it's kind of up in the air yet if he's going to get a new one in 2021. But otherwise, we're almost to that cycle where we're going to be able to start remounting. The 2 ambulances we have right now, their boxes are too old to remount. The cost of refurbishing the boxes it puts you in the category of a brand new box. But so we're probably 1 or 2 years away from starting to be able to just buy chassis and remount. So
How many do we have in the fleet available?
we
They're all
have
on the road.
we keep 4 in Hayward, 2 in Ojibwa, 1 in Stone Lake, 1 in Round Lake. And then, but one of the 4 up in Hayward is considered just a spare. So it just kind of sits in the back until we've got 1 or 2 ambulances out, all being serviced. So
It's good, thank you.
Any other questions for Kim regarding the budget? Hearing none, move on to letter D, purchase of equipment 2020. We do have a resolution for that. Can you hand that up, please?
Tim, do you want to explain that?
sure. I can tell you what we are hoping to accomplish. We end up dedicating quite a few hours in the winter to snow removal on not just parking lots, but on the actual sidewalks and entryways. It's usually done manually. So what we're hoping to do, what I'd like to do is purchase a small articulated loader with a sidewalk, bucket, a sidewalk broom, a snow blower, and a box plow. And the difference is, I know we've got our skid steer right now. We've got the Kubota. Doesn't have a ton of hours on it. I think it's got less than 400 hours on it because we need it when we need it. And the problem on the sidewalks with the skid steer is not only marking up the sidewalks, but it's a heavier machine. Plus, you've got so much iron around you. Your visibility is really not good as far as having pedestrians and everything around you. So to kind of make it more efficient, cut down on the possibility of getting guys hurt, and to be able to keep more guys on task on the maintenance and not just snow removal, because sometimes it's an all day, when these storms come in. So I'd like to purchase a small articulating loader. It's got very good visibility because they're designed to be on sidewalks. And I can put a guy in there instead of wearing them out on the sidewalk. The machine won't get tired. Guys might get bored, but at least they don't get. It's a safe way to work. In that proposal, there's also $32,000 in there. Highway said they have the funds. They were looking to get into a newer skid steer. And so ours is like new. Like I said, it's got under 400 hours on it. So they would purchase that for $32,000. Gives them a lot better deal than going out and buying one on the market right now. The other thing in this resolution is we've got an 8'6" Prodigy, Western Prodigy on our 3/4 ton Super Duty. But the plow that's on the other 3/4 ton truck is technically it's a smaller straight plow for a 1/2 ton truck. And so we're assuming with this piece of equipment being on the sidewalks, we'd pick up more of our parking lots with the trucks. And so in this proposal, also in that $15,000 is purchasing another Prodigy. So we'd have 2 of the Prodigy plows, and the new plow would go on the Chevy. So that gives us capability of moving that snow that way as well. That's kind of the whole resolution. What I'd like to do, and that's why we came out with the resolution, is I would like to be able to do something before snow flies now, instead of starting this in January, and then missing this season of being able to work safer, more efficiently.
Oh, just remember those the sidewalks and stuff. Those aren't sidewalks that the inmates would.
Technically, we're hoping to kind of veer away, because I know using Huber sounds great on the surface, but
I have no problem with it.
so we kind of wanted to kind of go back to going don't have to supervise, well, you supervise your own guys, but they go out and do a job and so, yeah, so put us, we go back to what we used to do and we catch it all.
Fine.
And,
Mr. Hall.
Yeah, so, the piece of equipment that Tim is talking about, instead of putting it in the 21 budget, Tim came up with a solution that we can do this now under the scenario that he talked about. We've also got about 15,000 in fund balance that we would apply towards the purchase, and that comes from other capital projects that are completed that have leftover funds. So there is, it's basically a journal entry to move the funds from here to there, which is why, we're looking for your approval to bring it to your attention, that we're selling a piece of equipment to a highway and buying another piece of equipment that wasn't in the budget previously. And then this would go to finance as well if this is approved here tonight. Also, Helen Dennis has her hand up.
Ms. Dennis.
I'm past that right now. I've had it up for quite a while, but I wanted to ask Tim if he's getting his COVID supplies through emergency management.
no, we have, we're helping to keep track of our inventory, but, the types of supplies that emergency management has available to them is different than what we're using on cleaning and disinfecting the courthouse and the jail. So those are coming
Okay.
from suppliers.
Okay, thank you.
That answers the question. Thank you. So,
Well, I was gonna ask if she wanted to make a motion, but I'll go ahead and make a motion to
motion by Mr. Howie, second by Ms. Taylor to approve the resolution. Yes.
And then it would go on to finance, as Tom mentioned, and then on to the county board.
Yes.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion? Opposed? Motion carried. So we need to have signatures on one sheet of paper.
Well, I have the original here.
Thank you.
Sorry, that was just a copy.
So Ms. Dennis, when you come into the county board meeting or tomorrow, you'll have to sign this resolution also for you. And next item is future agenda item.
So it's after the building and modeling.
Correct.
One question on that. I'm just kind of curious, it's in our report, we keep talking about it, we're gonna be looking at our treatment plan for the airport, but we're gonna wanna start the process talking about the one-way project at the airport. I'm gonna curious what time, what is the good time to spend probably 2 or 3 months at this level, at committee, talking about one-way project. When we want to start those discussions. Because it's 2 or 3 years to put that together. There's a lot of stuff that this committee is gonna have to talk about and consider in that process. I know the BOA's talked a couple times about having the county put a petition together, a petition the state for new runway that we gotta talk about before. We should put a petition together.
Let me ask you this. Can you put together like an outline with bullet points of what we have to accomplish? And maybe with an outline of that, then that would go away. Yes.
copies for each of those. Okay.
So, I mean, you could even bring that next month, and then we would know what has to be.
Well, it's out there, and it's gonna be coming up, part of doing that, getting the BOA involved too with, and talking about it unless you have some sort of cost projections, of what it's gonna cost. And I think the biggest problem that the county is gonna have is just funding it at 5% or $3 million. That's where the discussions are really gonna be geared towards.
Well, we have to know each step that has to be done.
Yep.
Yes.
Future agenda items, I would like, Mr. Chairman, to include highway in our maintenance department, and any assistance they can give us going forward with projects we may have pertaining to the second courtroom in California Avenue. I would like them brought in and kind of look at those projects, if there's any way that we can save a little money by our department doing some work. I'd like to get that up for discussion.
We do that.
You have. He's in the
Ms.
picture.
Dennis, you have anything for that? Hearing none, out of the number 10, out of the matters for discussion only. Hearing none, number 11.
Make a motion to move in the,
Gotta read that,
oh, I'm sorry.
please.
Someone asked me to, I just shut it down.
That's all. Give us a second.
Yes.
Closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.85 for the purpose of deliberation and negotiation of exchange of public property and other public business related to the Sawyer County Courtroom Public Works project, purchasing of the hangar of the Sawyer County Airport. Both these items need to be closed session. So we have a motion and a second. Both by Mr. Elliott, second by Ms. Taylor to go into closed session. All in favor? Done?